Okay, folks, welcome back. This is part two of Beyond Healing Beyond Psychology. We left off last week where Patrick was talking about his journey of being a shaman, and then he went on to where being in a relationship, if you're healed, is going to be very challenging because someone that's being healed, the vibration is going higher, and the other one's is kind of is lower, and they're stuck in their trauma state. And he finished off by saying last week that someone that's up there can be very, very happy in their life, and other people that are in their lives are lower, and they're going, you've changed since you're up there now. Why don't you come down here? It's better when you're traumatized down here. So it can be a very lonely world when you're up there. But there is other people out there that are like you. You just have to find people that are, similar minds. As long as you're happy, it doesn't matter about your relationships. I suppose it does matter with relationships, but it's how you're going to manage yourself. Yeah. Do you have any experience? Like, I mean, you're a shaman, you are a father. You've been healed of your own trauma. Is there any experience of what it's like for you being in difficult relationships where you've been grown apart in a friendship or relationship?
Yeah, but so obviously not recently. So the mother of my kids, that was a 23-year relationship,
23 years.
and that came to a stop. Well, it came to a stop, a full stop, say, 2 years ago. So October 2 years ago.
Okay.
After 23 years, that came to a stop. It also came to a stop prior to that, 6 years prior to that, came to a stop as well. Actually, this was talking about part one there, where and breaking down crying in front of one of my friends and saying there was a breakup coming up. And that breakup did happen then. That lasted for about 6 months. Then after 6 months, when it kind of came around, didn't know what was going on, and ended up getting back then through feeling guilty and sorry for the other person and empathy and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up reaching out again. Then we got back together. But this time round, so obviously when we got back together, the relationship wasn't the same. Like two ships crossing the night. There was very little said to one another. She was doing her own thing. I was doing my own thing. But not as in like I was out enjoying life and she was out enjoying life. It was just kind of like we were miserable. Just in that space where that happens.
But while you are healed, you're a healed person, you're shaman, you're practicing this while you're in a relationship, and you could feel the misery.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can feel the misery that's going on, but it's because it's a disconnect there. But the thing about it is, it's like although you can see it happen, the thing about shame is we're well. Obviously, we can read situations, we can read what's going on around, but you're also in a position to be in a space where it's not affecting you, where you can just get on with things. But and I think one of the main reasons why I wouldn't approach the situation again towards saying, well, listen, we should, this isn't working out or that, because I would be thinking about the kids, and because we were living and making believe each other, and the kids were here, and we made promises to the kids like we pay for a football scholarship with one and college for another, so we were kind of still playing the role of mother and father, even though the kids, like, they're adult kids, even though we were playing that role. But I was quite happy for the time to be in that situation and not upset it. But it did come, the push did come to shove down where like we can only stay in that energy for so long. And it just came to a stage where I came to a holiday where I ended up having to voice it towards saying, listen, like this is it, this is enough, like this can't go on. Because the thing about it is like although there wasn't fighting and all that kind of stuff going on and nobody was stressed out like that, it's no way to live. So we weren't actually experiencing life, or I don't know if I think like where if you are with a partner you go out and do things, or you're having all these great experiences, especially after the kids are growing up, is when you're free to do all that stuff. But we weren't engaged in any of that kind of stuff. We never done that together. So maybe because that I would have liked, she doesn't like, and that she liked, I didn't like. So we're completely two different people. And I know we did align through our own traumas back then, and it was an infatuation thing. But then of course when you get into rearing kids, like yourself, you get to rearing kids and you're busy out, and we're thinking about the lines of anything else other than our life as our kids. They need to work. So in that period of time, we're trying to keep down full time jobs and starting off businesses. We were so busy along the way. So much happened in the 23-year period that you're just so busy. But then when everything starts to quiet down, and you're kind of sitting there one day and say to yourself, "This is where I got to. Like, this is where I am."
Question, do I even like you anymore?
Oh, this is the thing. Yeah. So you're in that space. So it ended up then, I made the decision to have the chat, and yeah, like I wouldn't look back at after, like I would have liked to end things amicably, which I did try to do, and then things just went south. You know what I mean? So like where I would have liked to throw and say like, well, listen, because we have a big like granny flat at the back of it, we can just move out there, stay in that space, like build a partition wall between that and this house, where the two of us are just doing our own thing, you know. And then I remember getting a phone call later on saying, right, what are you doing? I was like, what? You have to get out of the house. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. Like, this is their house and blah blah. I was like, no, you have to get out. And then, well, I knew then I wasn't going to be playing saying right, but I did say to myself, right, listen, give her a bit of time, she would meet somebody else and blah blah. Right? So that was grand. So I ended up then, it went real south, and I think maybe in November. So it was the January issue of last year, 2024. Got a letter in the door from the courts. It was a protection order, which I couldn't believe. I was like, what the, like, what's going on there, you know? Was talking to someone about it, and it was like, right, listen, if you're in the house, because I moved back into the house on a stage then, right, and she moved out. And what happened was then is the protection order, right, then I knew, right, there's a plan, there's something happening in the background here, you know? See, I'm not violent, I'm not abusive, so I didn't know what was going on with this, but I knew something was going. And I had been warned by a person. Somebody came to me flagging, do you realise what's going on with you here? That you're going to be thrown out of this house? You'll be done under the guise of domestic violence. And I'm sure I was laughing at that. That never happened. Sure, not violence, you know what I mean? Or I'm not verbally abused or anything like that. But he said, just like you know what's going on in the background, he said, there's a talk going on every night, you're going to be thrown out of your house. And your son's going to follow, and then your daughter's next. So I was like, I couldn't picture that. Not in a million years would I picture that. So didn't believe it. Until I seen this protection order come in the door. Then I was chatting to somebody who says, listen, if that person comes into the house, your ex comes into the house, record everything. You're well with your right to record everything. So that was grand. So there was no sign for about 3 months, hadn't seen or heard from. And then what started happening was, started to appear at the house. All of a sudden, stuff started going missing out of the house, taking stuff out of the attic, and then of course I went on to adverts on the internet, and there's all the stuff that was then taken out of the house for sale. So I was looking at that then, so I was like, right. So I ended up then.
Just to recap, so she wasn't living in the house, but she
Yeah.
had a key to the house,
Yeah.
and stuff was getting stolen and sold.
It's taken out and sold, yeah. So there was a, we called over on her behalf, on her side, I think there was a drinking habit after development, and she wasn't working, so I ended up to feed that habit. That's what she was engaged in. But yeah, something was going out of the house, and then so I ended up then when she showed up, because she hadn't been there for 3 months, I locked the front door, and then I locked the back door. She came to the house, couldn't gain entrance, called the guards. Guards came up, had a chat with the guards. The guards were sound, they wanted to know what she was doing there. She fucking lost the plot in front of the guards, and then I ended up down, moved into. I ended up apologising to the guards for wasting the time. They left that night. I think 4 more guards came up, came in, what's going on here? I was like, just being the kids here, like we were watching television or whatever it was. No, was there an altercation here or not? No. Was there like they were saying like was there a row or like what happened? So there was a early look around. I told them what happened after the house. So they're kind of standing there. You can see them as well. They were saying, "Oh, this is a waste of time." They left. That was grand. So the next day came in, and she showed up again. She started taking stuff out of the house. She was screaming, roaring, shouting out the window, holding abuse. I was sitting on the chair there. She wouldn't look at her. I was facing this way, you know. So I didn't want to engage at all because I knew that the protection order was got in order to weaponise it. So if you open your mouth to me, I'm having you arrested. So I would not be able to say it, which I didn't.
And it's just to clarify, is a protection order from her, or,
That's from the courts.
but it was to protect
from
her
yeah,
from
yes. Protect her from me, yeah.
But it wasn't from the house, because obviously you lived in the house.
Of course, yeah.
So she could come to the house, and you had to not speak to her.
Exactly.
Couldn't do anything.
Couldn't do anything. So you might have the variables where contact her either through texts or emails or on a phone call, all you want. I wasn't able to contact at all, right? So that was grand. No, I did try to contact her once or twice. What's starting the house like? And all they would show the guards me messages for her and say, listen, there's nothing in that that's abusive. I said, that's just asking straight questions. I says, this is the abuse coming from the far side. So, but the whole point of the protection order, and this is the thing, like, I wouldn't read this before, this goes across the board. Protection orders can be weaponised. And how they can be weaponised is, so you can go into the court, tell a load of lawyers, and on the basis that you're lying, it'll be signed off. Yeah, you give that there, the guards will serve that, and the guards will show it to you. There you go. The thing is, you feel that small all of a sudden because you feel you're a criminal. Like you actually have to do something. Guards are there handing you a page and you're like, how did this happen? So that was, so the next day came anyway and I was in the house. She's holding abuse at the window. I didn't look around, didn't say anything. My sister was here, my sister was sitting here, just chatting away, and then that night then, guards came to the house, came in, chatting, what happened? Said, right, did you lock the door? I said, lock the door yesterday. And they're like, what was the story then? So I ended up saying, well, it's for the bedroom upstairs. I said, I've been living in here. I said, sleeping here. This couch will break your back. I said, she hasn't been here 3 months. I says, I'm getting access to the room. I says, it's still my bedroom. I says, there was rubbish left there to make it look like all her stuff was in the room. But it was not. Every piece of clothing was gone, you know. So I ended up saying, I said, all her stuff's gone. I said, this is a game that's going on here, you know. So I said, I want to move back in the room. And when I told her I'm moving back in the room, I said, this is where it's all my tower. So the girl goes, all right. So they left. And then I was sitting down there watching the film again. So the thing is, you see, you're trying to keep everything, because you have two kids involved in this, movie, and you're trying to keep them calm. You're staying, you have this brave face on. Yeah, sure, don't worry about it. Everything's grand. Nothing's going to come out of that. Where in the background, you say to yourself, what the fuck's going to come out of this? Or where the fuck's this going to? So, but you're keeping the fucking, everything's grand, not a bother. But inside, there's so much going on, you know. So I'm sitting there anyway, and my son looks out the window, and he goes, what the hell? It was what? Turned around, about 8 guards coming up the driveway. There's like 2 vans out there, 2 marked cars out there, 2 unmarked cars. Like as it was after committing an order, like. So they got up right outside, opened the door, guards are looking at me. But they're looking like, place is so calm, you know me. He goes, Patrick, why? I said, yeah. He goes, was there, have you been informed of a call out about domestic abuse? I said, no. I said, there's 4 guards here earlier on. He goes, did you lock the door? I said, yeah. Then all of a sudden, right, you're under arrest. I was like, what? So they arrested me, that was grand, right? Now obviously they're just doing a job, you know me. So brought me into the station. Now they were lovely, very confident, very professional, because we were going to sound over in Blanchardstown, hold cells next morning, up in court. That's not, it hasn't even finished. But up in court then, for domestic abuse, right? And this is how easy it happens, you know me.
But she wasn't even in the house. She
wasn't in the house,
She just
no.
made the phone call.
Didn't
And
even
8 guards come.
This is
Just
it, yeah.
the power of the words of the mouth.
Well, that's it. Like, you can sit there and you can throw all these kind of things. Now, what we'll say is we ended up in Dalton House Family Courts. I was in there now. I have to say the judge in there, man, is fucking shit hot. And went in, she was have to give him a statement about all these things that I was after abusing her. And she has to get up on the stand first. Her barrister questions her. Then the judge will cross-reference that, and then my barrister is supposed to cross-reference that. But she's up in the judge's room saying, this happened in October, this happened in November, December, January, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah. And then there's a discrepancy in the statement. And the judge in the room saying, well, this all made sense up to this point. And he says, at this point, he says, you resided in your mother's house. And in January then, you ended up in a woman's refuge. I was like, yeah. I was like, why? So obviously, so my ex was studying law. She knows well about the law. I mean, between her and her mother, the two of them, when it comes to the law, they're absolutely like unbelievable. They can read through it. They walk it. They're brilliant at it, you know. So obviously they must have read up on the acts in relation to domestic abuse, what it meant, the key words in it, like you would have something like what's it called again? It's something to do with like acknowledge you're passive aggressive. There's a word for it. It's kind of like
They're all thrown around with gaslighting.
throwing out all these words, you know what I mean? Like picking out all these words. It's unbelievable, like, but all these key words, and you can see him and he knew what they were doing. You know, she knew what she was doing. But where he could have believed her, that everything that she said had happened at that point, and which he was giving her a benefit now, yeah, this could have happened, you know what I mean? Then all of a sudden when it got to this point, it was like what? Were you keeping your mother's house? No. Like, did Mr. Michael down threaten your mother's house? No. Did you make your phone calls? No. Haven't heard from him since then, since he left the house. And he's like, so what did you go to woman's refuge for? So anyway, I think he stuck on that question for about 20 minutes, asked her each and every way he possibly could. Her barrister stood up and tried to say the same thing, you know. And I was sitting there in the meantime and saying this, we can't answer because it's a lie. Do you know what I mean? So it's actually microaggression is the word. So that was from there a couple of times. So and then she was saying, when I got one of force, he was really abusive and all that kind of stuff. And he goes, how long the relationship? Oh, the first year or two. I was 20. I was a madman back then, you know. 20 odd years ago, it was off me, Troy. But like that ended up fairly quickly. As soon as I started engaging in my work, all that stopped. You know what I mean? But needless to say, anyway, that was going on. He couldn't pin together why she got to women's refuge, and then he copped it. And Thomas says, he goes, you put yourself to women's refuge in order to avail property. No, this is nothing to do with domestic abuse. But he did want to say to our barrister, he goes, I don't know how it got in here. It shouldn't be in this jurisdiction. He said, but seeing as it is, He says, I'll deal with it. And then basically what he does is he goes, it's nothing to do with domestic abuse. He says, it's all to do with property. So he knew it straight away. And I wasn't called up to be questioned or cross-referenced or anything like that. We hadn't done anything. He knew straight away what it was about. So, anyway, top first of the two was then, right, go outside, come to an arrangement, who gets what, as in, like, who stays where in the house by one person, we would never stay there, what's the story with the rooms, communal rooms, all this kind of stuff, anyway. So that was all started, but I mean, that went across months. But I suppose the main thing about it was, if I hadn't been still in the traumatic state, going through that, chances are I would have reacted to that. Like my main thing is, right, is that, I'm a firm believer that most of our traumas, it's only allowed to endure because of the system that we live in. The system doesn't care for trauma, and it certainly promotes it. Do you know what I mean? Through the stresses that we go through in life, like when you come from a particular background, you get a particular. I know we live in a system of opportunity, but it's certainly not a system of equality, where these doors don't open for us.
And does that come from our mums and dads?
Of course,
so,
yeah.
So it's already passed on.
It's already passed on, yeah.
So we're already going into relationships with our trauma from our mum and dads.
Oh, 100%, yeah. And everybody's at that, you know what I mean? That's why, like, when people get together, I know people use the word, like when we meet someone, we meet them over a trauma bond. That's an alignment. Trauma bond is something different. But you'll meet with the other person because of their trauma, obviously, yeah. And you're obviously in trauma, and obviously the frequency, they will match in the line. But trauma bond is a different thing. Trauma bond is something that actually keeps a toxic relationship flowing. I'll actually explain that to you later on. We'll actually go back to that later on. But yeah, but the thing about resolving the trauma is, when I went through that whole situation, and I remember, because when I got the Canada Protection Order, I came to St. in camp, and each wish they did turn and say to me, or my higher self, they turn to me, right, while you're going through this process, don't do anything. You don't have to prepare for it, you don't have to think about stuff, you don't have to go and see somebody, do nothing. Because what you'll do is, if you do absolutely nothing, first of all, the other person is affected by you doing nothing. Because things are doing stuff with you, you're taking it on, you're reacting. It's a transference, constant energy, back and forth, back and forth. But if you don't engage it and the engine will throw at you, there's nowhere to go. But it goes back to them. Then they get stressed out about it, they get angry about it, they get more upset about it, they're filling themselves full of rage. They start making mistakes. Now, which they think they have it in the bag, you know what I mean? And then what eventually happens then is, because I didn't engage in it, therefore there's no karma. So I didn't create any new karmas for myself. But if there's another person and they've been nasty in the background, well, they are creating karma for themselves. And it will fall short from them. Always. It'll keep on falling short. And that's all that happened there. All I heard was, do nothing. And at the very end of this, it'll be the truth that sets you free. Because the truth always sets you free. And even if it had been, oh, you got thrown out here, well, it was supposed to go that way, and whatever was meant for me would have shown up. Do you know what I mean? I would have better than that I've ever had. But the thing about it was, it worked out perfect, and only as a result of resolving the trauma. I would have hated to go through the situation if it wasn't trauma, because I know it wouldn't have went as smoothly as it did. The guards knocked at the door, I wouldn't have opened the door. How's it going, gentlemen? I'd opened the door. What the fuck do you want? Get the fuck out of here, right? I would have went spare. But being in that nice calm situation, not nice calm situation, but staying nice and calm in that situation, most people fall in that whole guard shop and doors like, what? Domestic, especially when accused of domestic abuse, means you're hitting your partner, which is fucking horrendous, like, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't condone that behaviour, but I certainly wouldn't be accused of it, you know what I mean? Especially when it's not true, completely false. But yeah, been dragged down that path then, but been able to stay on top of it until I came out the far side of it. Now, don't get me wrong, when I did come out the far side of it, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Because obviously it was keeping my head there and saying, right, just don't do anything, stay strong, you need to provide for the kids, and there's this going on, that going on, all these bills to pay, you have to try find work, you have to advertise for work, and trying to put yourself in. There's so much going on in that space, you know, so much going on in that space, and they're trying to reach out to people, trying to expand. And but while you're trying to push everything out, everybody's trying to push back in, because you can't expand it like that when there's all this on the outside. It's so constricting, you know what I mean? That you're not allowed to it. So you're better off when something like that's going on, you're better off pulling right back into yourself and give yourself a break, because people don't realise the magnitude of what's going on when that's coming at you. There's so much in that space, you know what I mean? But it bombards you and impels you, but like I say, being trauma free was the only saving grace.
I was about to say that. What actually saved you going through that's 23 years of relationship, and then it ended drastically with courts and domestic abuse. That what did help you? You reckon the fact that you were you had some healing. And when would you have got the healing? You got the healing very young. You probably got it 20 years ago, the start of your relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
actually, yeah, 1 years ago. Yeah.
So that saved you. So it's not like
Definitely.
the trauma healing expires.
Yeah,
Because
yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
it's there forever.
It's there
because,
for, yeah.
you know, for listeners that don't know, it healed you from your man, your dad's trauma,
Yeah.
the karma,
Yeah.
you know, your relationships, the abusive relationships.
Yeah.
There's a 10-step,
Oh, yeah, of course.
10 steps there that you went through, that
Yeah.
we went through, and that saved you through your
From your own stuff.
relationship.
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, someone that would be watching would say, yeah, but someone like yourself that was healed, how did you have such a bad relationship like that? But she wasn't healed first of all,
Oh, that's a joke.
and it sounded like it was the universe was testing you. The universe was testing to see how your relationship would end, because not every relationship is supposed to be.
No, of course, yeah.
That was the one of your chosen. You had a house together. It then was ended. It didn't end in the best way,
No.
but it was your lesson. Now she had her lessons from it.
Oh,
We
yeah.
don't know what way it's going for her,
Yeah.
because she's not in your life anymore. But for you, it was doing them.
Yeah.
And for sometimes for some people to go, so do I like not fight back, no. And do I not like say that I wasn't a domestic abuse? It was probably, I think you mentioned it was her journey to get her own home, and she had to play the domestic abuse. She had to go into the homeless shelters
Yes.
in order to get her home.
Yeah.
But she could have put you in on the secret, couldn't she? She could have said, listen, I'm going to pretend so I can get my own house.
Yeah, you know.
Because then it would have been a little bit easier.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, it was a big lesson for you.
Oh, massive lesson. Oh, massive lesson. Like, but it just goes to show you then that when you are going through stuff, how when trauma is gone, how you can stay on top of things, resolve things, and like, so obviously if we had engaged in stuff there, right, or especially really accused of something, and especially with somebody from the state knocking at my door, which I can't stand, really, because I do be looking at that, that's a corrupt system as it is, and it's dirty, and I don't want to have anything to do with it, and I don't want to come to my door. So when it does come to my door, I'm real kind of like, what the f-? I do everything to avoid this, but somebody pushing this person, you know what I mean? And then of course, it's not only guys showing the door and all this stuff, the amount of lies that gets told about you. And when this person doesn't stand, you never do them through your life, ever. But I tell you, one of the saving graces apart from trauma through that whole situation, and I would have spoken to you about this actually when you're doing your sessions about family fields. Not only just one of the orders in the family field is the order of balance. And how that's said is, right, the order of balance in relationships. So obviously when a family does a family field, and the energies are constantly moving around that, right, and energies always up for the balance. So that means, and obviously we experience that through our moods. So, which is emotions. So if you have a person in the family field that's constantly giving emotionally, so I would have been the emotionally available parent and a partner through the whole 23 years. So you're constantly giving, and it's not been reciprocated. And that's not to say that's bad in the other person, it's just I'm not in a position to be able to express that. You build up a debt, it's called. So it's an energy debt that cannot be repaid. And once you hit that threshold, that's it, it shuts off. You can't give anymore. No matter how much you want to engage in it, which I would have loved it, you can't engage anymore. You're just cut off from it. And then that's why then the separation then was kind of like, I could actually turn around and walk away from it and not be caught up in anything emotionally. So therefore, like, it wasn't that I was going through a breakup where I was emotionally invested in it and I was saying, oh, this is fucking terrible, and it gave me that thing to turn and say, right, well, this doesn't save me anymore. Therefore, well, if I was to hang on here, it'd be to my own detriment. If I prevent myself from growing, or you would have to lower my vibration to interact with this vibration. And I wasn't, after all the years of working, I wasn't going to, no matter what, I wasn't going to let myself go from that space to this space ever again. Yeah. I've been there for so long, and when I got out of it, it was kind of like, I would never look back there again. So I don't want to be operating in that space. And because this other person was operating in that space, for all those years, when we built up that karmic debt then, it was just kind of like, wait, you're done here. Move on. Just move on. Walk away with me. You don't owe me anything now. You've gave as much as you can give from an emotional point of view. That's the end of it. Just stop and move on. So that was one of the same graces as well. Not just the trauma was resolved, the fact that karmic debt had been built up through energy transfers, me being emotionally available, and then not being reciprocated. So they just can't win balance that way then. It means you've given way too much and it will never be reciprocated, ever. It's gone too long. So the length of time it will take to build that back up to create balance, therefore it's gone beyond that point. So therefore then it just stops. So that was another thing ways about it.
Right.
But what about yourself in your own relationships?
I believe when we meet someone, it's where are we at? I mean, so you think about 23 years ago, where were you at? You know, so I was, you know, where were you at when you're meeting that partner?
Yeah.
You know, so for me, I was very vulnerable when I met the mother of my children. So I've been very, very young. I was a teenager, and my mother just left the home. So we only moved down the country,
Okay.
and my mum was leaving my stepdad. So I was at a party then, and I believe that whatever girl paid me attention that night, looking back now,
Yeah.
I believe I would have latched on
Okay.
because of how vulnerable and upset I was. And I did. I met a girl that night, and we had 3 kids. We got married. We got the mortgage, and you know, in relationships, as you know yourself, that you have your ups and downs.
Yeah.
But where we trauma bonded, I wonder, because I know from the start of a relationship, you know, me not having anywhere to live because my ma's at the leaving the home. I'm going to meet my real dad, as you mentioned in the story. I didn't know where I was living. I didn't want to live down the country, but I had to go down there some days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to meet my real dad. I lived with him as well.
Yeah.
And then he didn't really want me with the mother of my kids because she had her own trauma with her mum and dad, you know.
Right.
So us moving in together and buying a house eventually allowed us just to, as you see most couples do, they just live and raise kids together. Are you actually sitting down to be happy together, or are you just doing it because you have kids and a mortgage to pay? So what you mentioned about the family feel, I think there's only so much I could give, but because you had the healing, I didn't have the healing back then because we broke up. I'm very bad at times. Very like I know you said time doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like if my daughter is 13 and we broke up when she was 2, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my time limit.
Yeah.
That's how long we're broken up, right? I didn't have that healing then. I didn't have that support around it. I was out paying the mortgage out there, and we were married, and I went, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to survive? Whereas you were able just to let go and go, this is what we're supposed to do. We'll go our own separate ways. I hadn't a clue what to do. I was there, oh God. And you think of suicide. You think, I was drinking back then, you know, so your drinking of alcohol increases. And if somebody offered you something, give it to me. If they want you to stay out even longer, you stay out even longer. So it's all actions to make you think you're going to feel better, to forget things. But it wasn't. But looking back now, then I realised I'm glad the relationship ended. I just wasn't in the right mind to accept that. But I do know if I was in the exact same relationship now, that if that ended now, I would be like you, because the healing allows you to say, do you know what? I'm glad they're coming to an end now. You know, I don't know. Some people ask down to age. It's not. It's when you get rid of your trauma, that you're not holding anything from your past, and you're allowed it to be in your present. That you know, with the drumming that you do and the healing that you do with your clients, and you feel that people. I know I keep saying it because there is going to be people out there that are going to go, that's airy fairy shit. Law of attraction doesn't work. Healing doesn't work.
Yeah.
But when you went to see with your relationship, that all you had to do was nothing.
Yes.
And they go, but she's bringing you to court, do nothing. And then she's domestic, the guards do nothing. You know, I know what you mean now. I understand that if something, and I use the scenario of karma interference when I seen 2 ladies, and one of them was the ex-mother of my kids, outside the house having a fight with one of the neighbours. And I'm going to deliver the kids' clothes to the mother's house.
Right.
And there's a fight going on, and I'm walking by them, like I didn't know them, going, there's the clothes, I'll see you later. And going, are you not going to see what's going on and say, are you all right? No, so you have no,
it's great.
you have such a disconnection from other people's trauma that you don't get, that you don't do it. So it allowed me then, well, I suppose, continuing from the I don't want to get into the whole upbringing again, but I had to do something. I had to find something, because I knew then, where I still had the kids half. I always said that I'll always make sure I have the kids half, and I still do. You know, we share the kids really well, and I'm very lucky I wasn't brought through the courts the way you were. There was none of that domestic abuse. We worked it out well.
Well, that's brilliant.
Very grateful for that.
So you still have a relationship with that girl now?
Yeah.
And is it amicable?
Yes, it's amicable. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Did it take long from the breakup to?
It's always ups and downs. It should take long. It's still happening today, but we're able to be all right now. You know.
And would the ups and downs be in relation to the 2 of you? Was not agreeing on something, or would it be down to the kids? Or something about
It's always the kids.
Always the kids.
But what I will tell you is, and you'll be delighted to hear this, is that the past year, because I seen you last June, the end of June or the end
Yes.
of July is when I came here. We're in May now, right? So it's nearly a year since I seen you, and our relationship is a lot more amicable.
Is it?
So there's no, like, if she said, "Where's the kids? This and the kids say that," she doesn't do that. But if she did happen to come with her trauma or her emotions, I'd go, "Yeah, that's no problem." I would have fought back, and I went, "How dare you talk to me like that? And what are you? I'm gonna block you now." So my reaction to her now is changed.
Isn't it amazing actually? Because when you look at that, right, I would have caught these things through all the years of being in a relationship like that. I actually remember at one stage where I was saying, "Jeez, I'm alright, shut up and say nothing if fucking better this works out for me." You know? And obviously then what that ends up is because then we would have spoken before about like, the biggest transference of energy is through talking. And of course, one person's having emotional experience, right? They're reacting to it and they're throwing it out there, right? And we're on the receiving end of that. Then, of course, we take it on, react to it, we throw it back at them, and you have this. We're playing fucking energy tennis, you know, your trauma tennis, trauma sends you back and forward. But when you don't engage it, then and I push it into a space. First of all, like I mean, the other person just wants to be heard, and all you want to do is listen. But you don't want to listen to be triggered to throw it back in the way. So when you're in that space where you're at each other, but you're in a position there where you can just stand there and listen to what's going on and say nothing, and you're just giving this space then for the other person to vent or whatever like that. I'm not saying that you're not getting caught in it, and you're not going on the defensive and throwing something back at them where obviously they're on the defensive then. It just dissipates and dissipates into a place then where here's just a go, and nothing kicks off out of it, and there's like nothing else is birthed from, like nothing else comes out of it. It's just it is what it is, and like that whole approach was kind of like, well, this has to go on, that's going on. Yeah, not what it's all. It's like they're nearly expecting to say, "Oh, well, here, hold on a fucking minute," but when you don't do that, it really then puts them in a position then where, oh, well, okay, so.
Yeah, some people just want to get a reaction out of it.
Of course, yeah. Well, not really. Sure, so we're rare like that. Like I know we're also rare as in like not to be cheeky and not to be fighting one another, this right. And of course, this comes from parents, right? So say I would have seen this in my own childhood growing up where, like it's you don't answer fucking back and you shut your fucking mouth and you don't say fucking anything basically, right? You sit there and you take it as much as it's been given to you, and that's the end, right? And then say my father would say that, right, don't open your fucking mouth, shut your cheeky mouth, right? And they sit down, then the mother walk in, blah blah. Don't you fucking question me? And you're looking at him reacting to this. So it was Aaron Rain was really like, do what you're told. Don't do what I'm doing. You just do what you're told. You know what I mean? Or don't do it. Or do as I say, not what I do. This kind of mentality. You know what I mean? We were watching all this going on. Plus, like I suppose actually through the years on, like when I would have left home and joined the army. But you were in the army, like in an establishment like that you join, where you have to do what you're told. And you're going to be screaming and roaring and shouting. That's all part of the army. It's part of fine-tuning you into a soldier, say, right, in order to do what you're told, follow orders, no questions asked, just sure standing in the army. And when you ask the question, like, what the fuck you that for? I wouldn't answer them. And they're a bit, and they'd say to me, like, did you fucking hear me? And I'd wait. And just when they're about to say to me again, then I mumble yes, like yeah. Because I knew he'd piss me off, like, you know, and you could see him getting a rage, you know, he's running saying, and I'd only say yeah, I wouldn't say yeah, corporal. But then when I mutter yes, then I knew they were going to come back at me and like, yes, what? As in, like, they're looking to be addressed, like, yes, corporal. Half the way through saying yes, what? I would just say, corporal. And I'd mutter, but just in piss them, because and that's me in a defensive space, like, that's me throwing and saying, you won't get one over fucking me, and I'll fucking show you. And like, I don't know how I ever passed out as a soldier, because I was the one of the cheekiest people I'd say that they ever came across.
Yeah.
But I done what I was asked to do, like, I done everything any other soldier would do.
It was the authority.
It was the authority thing, yeah.
They were asking you.
Massive thing about authority, you know, it was just, but I thought it was, I would have said this for years, and I would have had people actually say to me for years, oh, you have a problem with authority, or you're anti-authority. But when I realised then, like, what comes from an authoritative figure, right? So say, for instance, your first authoritative figure is your parents. Second skill, that would be a teacher, right? Person over that is a principal, right? And then within that circle of authoritative figures in your life, then right, you have your granny and granddad. And then sometimes a friend that you would look up to would be an authoritative figure as well, right? There's all these authoritative figures in your life. But I realised then over time, right, especially after doing working on stuff, right, where, and like, this is no offence to anybody out there, right, it's not anti-authority that it was bothered with, or that it was caught up in, it was anti-stupidity. Because when I seen the message that was coming from these people in authority, I was like, are you fucking even thinking about what you're fucking saying to me? Are you thinking about what you're doing? Or are you even listening to the message you're putting out there? It's pure stupidity. Or if you want to say, well, I used to label it as it's anti-stupidity. But it's not. It's anti-critical thinking, and it's anti-intelligence, and it's anti-anything that makes any sense, common sense whatsoever. And it's, I know this is all part of the system. It's the way the system programs us and all this stuff. But it don't have to do with fucking anti-authority. It was just your because I would never look at people as being an authority figure. The way I looked at it from a very, very young age, and we're not taught this. So just to show you where my mindset was back as a child, was everybody was equal. Nobody had a right to shout at anybody else, let alone put their hands on anybody else, and that used to really bother me. And the thing that made me angry was, it wasn't about me getting hit. It was about me looking at someone saying, you have the audacity to think that it's all right for you to hit me. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? Putting your hands on me. It wasn't about getting slapped. It was about the neck of a person thinking that was all right to slap somebody.
Because you wouldn't do it to them, but they were doing it to
exactly,
you.
You know,
Okay.
I was always of the opinion that, like, we're all here as equals. Everybody should just be here and doing whatever they're doing, just living and getting on with life and all that. No, because everybody's problems spawn from somebody else. Like, no, we're all traumatized because of somebody else. We're not traumatized because obviously we're in trauma. It's now maybe thousands of years when we were all homeless and all that, when you see your friend get savaged by a bleeding wolf or something like that, traumatized the shit out of you.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've moved away from all those primitive times, right? And we're actually living in societies where all of that stuff, we should be nearly well and truly away from that stuff. But we're not. Like, you have your neighbours out there that constantly watching your back because, like, maybe you have somebody scrounging the door or something like that, right? Not be scrounging the door, but they would look at it that way, you know, right? Like, they would say, your fucking man over there is claiming, but like, he's working 2 days a week, and they're fucking hanging him. So everybody's fucking out to get everybody. Nobody likes seeing anybody having anything, you know what I mean? So everybody's out to get everyone, and we're living in that system where, like, fucking everyone's not for each other. There's no sense of community anymore, where everybody watches everybody helps each other, everybody watches each other's backs. It's all fucking, that fucker has a new clean car, and I'm working fucking 7 days a week, and he's in the dough.
So where's this lack of community gone then? So we used to have it when we were less money, we were poor, and we're all together. We look out for Mary next door because she needs a bit of bread dropped into her. But now we've loads, we've technology, we've internet, we've loads of money, loads of loans, and now there's no community. So what's the answer to it?
Well, this is so if you understand where the lack of community. Well, I'll put it this way, right? You know, I have to understand first of all, right, where communities came from, right? Communities ended up becoming a thing, right, from times of war and all this, right, where there's no kind of sense of community back then, right. But when people started to realise then that they were in lands where they were trouble and all this stuff, right, and the best thing to do would be pull together, because you can't fight off a common enemy if we're all like individuals. So therefore, we need to pull together, right. But not just in wartime or this kind of stuff, right. We need to pull together, like, so say tribes years ago. You see, like, Indian tribes and ton of Native American tribes or tribes off in Peru and all that kind of stuff, where they would create a tribe and everybody in the tribe looked after one another. And if you came along, you needed a mud hut built, but everybody would get involved in it and build it. If I'm just saying, like, you were great at building a mud hut and it was shit, excuse me, you would help me build a mud hut, and if you were shit at hunting, try to go out and do a hunting which you would show you how to hunt. It was all a great sense of community. Everybody looked after each other, right? But say that's tribes and all this, right? But what ends up happening is that's where all communities end up getting, where everybody's for one another. Everyone look at the tenements in town. Where you have the likes of Foley Street, you have corporation buildings. Even you have the likes of Oliver Bond and all those kind of flats, right, where people are really tight, right? They're in a tight knit community. Everyone looks after everybody in their places, right? It's very seldom an outsider gets accepted there now, you know. But everybody knows who everyone is. Everybody knows everybody's MO, their agenda. And everybody in those spaces.
Are they trauma bonded? Is that way to together?
Oliver Bonds and the trauma bond. So of course they're all obviously operating on the same frequency and vibrations, right? But the thing about it is, right, these are people with nothing. I'm not trying to say that they're all poor people, right? But these are people that literally have nothing. They're living from day to day, sometimes just week to week, right? Like, but they all have a great sense of community where they're all looking after one another, right? Like, I know, like, if you're an outsider, you walk through these places, right, you'd be like, what the fuck do you want here, and what's your man doing here, and all that, so you'd be ran out of place. But if you're part of the people in the flats and all that stuff, like, they're all about community spirit and helping one another, right? But the reason why we've lost that again is, right, and this is the thing about it, is man has become so consumed in materialism, where he has detached from the collective, where now it's all about what I fucking have, and then the other person is about what they have, right? And then trauma, of course, is kind of like, well, it creates this fucking jealousy then. It's kind of like, well, he fucking has bleeding damn. All I have is this. Like, say for instance, right, James, when they're buying a brand new fucking 60-inch television, James, I bought a 65-inch television and my head was saying, yeah, fucking bollocks, you know, like, oh, did you? Yeah, where'd you get fucking that? And I wouldn't even talk to you about it. I wouldn't even say, well, this telly does this and this does that. And this is a smart TV and basically George. I mean, but people have lost this whole fucking thing of, like, got a 60-inch television. Oh, I got a 65-inch. Oh, fucking savage, man, fair play. Like, no one has that anymore. People have become so distant, separate from the collective, not just about TVs. It's a materialistic thing, right? And a good, where this all started off actually is, right, is that when people start getting their own homes. So people actually were broken right in the flats, like, for instance, in Henry, you had the Ballybuck flats, Ballymun flats, where they started dispersing out into these estates, especially in Tala. I know Tala was housed with a lot of people from years ago, from the flats that were taken down, like Ballymun, like my mother and father lived in Ballymun, Ballybuck, or Ballybuck first, then Ballymun, out to Dundrum then, and then out to Tala. And there was a lot of families that done that, where they're all shifted out to Tala then, right? And then, but you had like a lot of people from Ballymun, ended up with loads of people out of Ballybuck, and then out of Dalton's Barn. So you had all these people that wouldn't have been into each other before, all ended up in these estates. And of course, like not like a flat complex in town didn't get along with this flat because they were all in flats. It was just all these people band together, and all these people band together, and then say these people band together, but everybody had their own colony. Everybody knew who was, and when they were all thrown to these estates, it was kind of like they were lost all of a sudden. First of all, they were put in a house estate where they didn't have that tight community anymore. And I know from personal experience, like an awful lot of them would have ended up like some say men back in the day anyway, because there was no kind of what do you say, the government any you didn't go to college, you didn't get these degrees or any kind of most men were either bricklayers, labourers, all these kind of people on sites. And the thing was, go out and work, come back home, they go for a drink, they give the wife a few quid then, and all of a sudden you see these houses getting up. So all of a sudden then, the main thing then, because I never grown up at this stage, the main thing had to be houses. So do your house up. And all of a sudden then, right, it was kind of like one person gets a weather glazed window, and everybody in the road hated her. Fucking what think she fucking is, getting a weather glazed window. More or less up showing the rest of us, or showing up the rest of us, whatever the case to be. And then that started happening, that pushed people down to a worse place where people are pushing people away. No one's talking to anybody now. Everybody tends to pull away from each other. And like I would have said that the road that I grew up on, they don't even know anybody on the road talks to each other anymore. They did when we were all kids, because we were all kids. Right? Like, we would have grown up, there was a gang like from between 15 and 40 of us at any one time. You know, like, loads was all hanging out there. And but the parents didn't really mingle with each other, but they were friendly with each other.
Yeah.
But I think over time then, like, it all pulls away. But the sense of community ends up drifting and pulling away through man becoming consumed in materialism. And he selling bulges in it, and anything outside of him then is not important anymore. And the thing about it is, you know yourself as well, right? The more you tend to have, the more friends you tend to gain. The more money you have an endless list of friends. So you have all these people then that start mooching and abusing the fact that you have that, or abusing your good nature. And then people that end up going out hard work because of didn't want to be interacting with these people anymore because they could see what was going on. So they're like, get the fuck, like no. And then everybody's supposed to say, your man's a fucking bollocks. They call you greedy and all this stuff. There's loads of reasons why communities broke apart, anyway. But materialism is what drove it. And I actually never thought. I really spoke this last week. Materialism was supposed to be the age of great forgetfulness. So man would actually lose himself to materialism. So communities broke down as a result of materialism.
Do we get addicted to materialism because of our trauma then?
No, 100%, because it's a distraction.
I leave it in an egotistic mind. So,
Yeah.
first of all, it's advertisement, you said.
Yeah.
But let's say you, right, if you're healed, and they're trying to get the man in, which is you're the man, and going, buy a 60-inch television, it's going to be great, it's going to make your life better. You're going to get more friends.
Yeah.
And they're all going to go around your house, and you go, oh, I think I'll do that. Would you reckon you wouldn't fall for that? You're aware of that, the advertisement, because you're healed?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
You'd see it for what it is.
I knew at the very early stages of my healing journey, because I would have spoken to my kids' mother about this. I would have spoken to her about nearly everything that I would have came to realise through my own healing sessions and all that kind of stuff. Where I ended up saying to myself, like people are judged. Because I started noticing back then, like, I think like back then we'd been like if there's such thing as an iPhone 2, that's when all this started kicking on, right? I started realising there was these big hypes about iPhones, then I seen it on television, and you'll see like these American programs and they're talking about the phone does this and it does that, and there was a massive hype, like, and the news was talking about iPhones, the news. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? So I started to notice it, and I never talked to the kid's mother then about the license. So it says, I said, you know, it says, see what's going on. People, it says, people are starting to get consumed in a phone. And what this phone can do, and people are, like, I know they wouldn't have paid €1,000 for it back then, but it's like even £400 or £500 at the time was a lot of money for a phone. You could have bought cars for that at that stage, right? But I could see it, yeah, I could see the whole world shifting. Like, it went from a commercial estate into like a highly driven, like there's a massive engine coming down behind it, into people in trauma. But it's not about when you're in trauma. What are we always at when we're in trauma? We're always looking for escapisms. Always, and distractions. Phone was one of the biggest weapons.
See, that makes now it all adds up for me now.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So all of these materialistic things is an escapism.
Oh, it's
Drink, drugs, bad relationships, phones, tellies,
everything.
is all escapism to your trauma.
Oh, 100%.
The penny just dropped with me now.
Yeah, totally.
So that's where it all stems from.
And this is the thing, and they've been done. It's not just done that. It's like that they just say, oh, geez, people need an iPhone. They because psychology in relation to commerce, right, or advertising, all that kind of stuff, right. I remember hearing this back in, I think it was 2002, that there was hundreds of thousands, and I mean hundreds of thousands of pounds, put into research into psychology on how to sell to people, right? Now, if you ask me, right, that's an attack on the human psyche, right? And I think it's absolutely disgusting that they actually put that amount of money into psychologists to sort of say, find out what people like, find out what catches their attention, find out how to make them buy this product, right? Which I think is disgusting, right? But phones, right? Now, the thing about phone is, right, they only have to sell you a phone now, right? It doesn't give a shit what colour it is right anymore, right? Because all your personal information is going on it anyway.
You need the phone.
So you're basically on the phone. It's not the phone, it's your physical self.
Exactly.
But all your memories are on it, all your go-tos are on it, all your interests on it, everything. You are your fucking phone in digital form. And what is happening is that I never got caught up in a really. I'll tell you what my thing was, right? I obviously had my own escapism. Now, it was drink years ago, but then of course got out of the whole thing with drink, right? My thing was, and still is today, my thing is be motorbike. But back then it was, I need the fastest motorbike, I need the best looking motorbike, I need the sportiest looking bike. I was changing bikes like I was fucking quicker than changing bedclothes. Every fucking week I was going to the credit union, getting a loan, changing bike, getting a loan, changing bike. It was constantly changing bike, constantly. I must have spent thousands upon thousands changing motorbikes over. And then I got back to a motorbike I already had. I don't know, bored of that. But that was pure escapism and pure distractions. But that was obviously caught in a massive trauma where that's not good enough anymore. I need this. Changing the image all
Were
the
you
time.
aware that was escapism from probably because of your relationship?
Well, I didn't know what it was. Well, my escapism, obviously, the relationship absolutely. But the thing about it was all the children stuff that I got through that had me in that fucking that state of needing. Because I was doing that from the very start of the relationship, really. It was get this, and fucking. Now that I have money. And the thing about it was like when I was, I think it was 19 or 20. I owned my own house at that age. Now, this was down to the kid's mother's father. We bought a house off him, bought it on the cheap, right? Didn't realise how lucky I was. Got a house for half the price it was worth, right? At that age was unheard of, right? Then I ended up, I had the best motorbike on the road over here at that stage. She had like a fucking nearly new car. The two of us had civil service jobs. We were made, from a systemic point of view, we were made. So we weren't fucking happy. But that was everything anybody could have wanted at that stage because people work till what? Their 20s or 40s to gain something they were similar, right? Now I know people get loans these days and get cars and do all that, but paying off their houses. Like we literally bought the house, I think it was a year and a half later. We sold the house for double what we bought it for. Bought the house outright and sold it and moved my house down the country. So I mean, we had everything, but we weren't in the position to hold on to our keeping because we fucking lost some fuel that stage. Only in the height of fucking trauma, it was just kind of like right up and move. Fucking man's like.
It's crazy. It's crazy how it all just dropped from me. That's all we're trying to do is escapism. So what I learned today was trauma bonding.
Yeah.
That we sometimes are in relationships or friendships. We're hanging out with mates because we're all traumatized together.
Yes.
We lost the lack of community and sense of looking after each other because of materialism.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to escape
Exactly.
Because
Yes.
that's where we're lost, because we're trying to escape.
Yes.
And if we actually looked into why we're trying to escape, what we're trying to escape, someone say, "Oh, I'm addicted." You know, I'm addicted to phones, or I'm addicted to drugs, and you go, "But why? Where's that coming from?" And that's what you helped me, because I remember when I first came here, I went, "No, I'm grand. I don't drink. You know, it was only a year ago when I came to you. I'm all right. I'm a life coach. I have a balanced lifestyle." But then I realised I held trauma. So what? Can you imagine the amount of people that are out there now that are probably in a relationship that they can't get out of?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're raising kids together.
Yeah.
They don't know how to do it, or their upbringing is affecting them. Like their mum and dad is affecting who they are today. Because I said last week that I thought my upbringing was grand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't the best. I know it was a broken family, but they looked after me very well.
Yeah.
You know? But I didn't realise it left me with some trauma that you got rid of.
Yeah, of course.
So that's a lot of learning, and then obviously you've learned about my relationship and how it affected me. That I believe I was just with, not I was just with her. We had, you know, a good few years together. We raised kids together, and I'm very grateful we had kids together. And now we can be amicable, raising the kids together. You know, 50-50 all the way up. So where do we go from here from next week? You know.
Well, next week, so again, like, something I'd like to say to the listeners is that, like, if there's any topic that you want me and Mark to talk about, or if you'd like to come on and we do an interview with you about something that you might be going through, by all means, text us on my Instagram page, because I've yet to set up an email and an Instagram page for me and Mark's.
He's so busy with clients.
Yeah, so the whole Healing Beyond Psychology, we kind of want to get a page up and running on it by its own, not related to my page. But yeah, so there's a topic that you want to talk about, we said Mark will cover it. But I think at the moment, if we stay in relationships for a minute, next week, we can talk about a particular relationship. There is someone I want to contact and ask when you come on. Yeah. So if they do, it'll be great.
Right.
So it'll be a guest. Yeah, a guest, yeah. So we'll have a guest.
Need a bigger sofa.
Yeah, bigger camera. So yeah, so we want to go down the road and bring people on and have a guest and all that stuff, and sharing their own healing journey and what they do now, whatever the modality that they use and all that kind of stuff, where they're at themselves now, or even people that went through addiction, alcohol addiction, anything at all. It's anything at all. The idea is to help other people.
That's why we're doing this.
So
I'm Mark Twine on Instagram, right? And then Patrick O'Brien. Is it Patrick O'Brien?
Yeah.
Healer or shaman?
So Patrick O'Brien, shamanic healer.
Patrick, right. Find out on Instagram and text him. Are you in a relationship or friendship? Are you finding it difficult? Because we are finding the shift.
Yeah.
And I think we're in a good era now of things where people are starting to grow now.
Yes.
And they're starting to go, Jesus, I've not been in a relationship for so long. We're not looking to break people up. We're looking to heal people and say, are you happy? And can we help you?
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Another thing then as well is that, like, if you're in a relationship and you're trying to save it, contact us. If you're in a relationship and you're in a toxic relationship and you're trying to desperately get out of it and you can't, contact us. So whatever's going on, if you're struggling, give us a bell on you.
And it's not just, I know we're on relationships now, but it's not just relationships.
Yeah.
You're seeing that it's how your mum and dad affected us.
Yeah.
You know, some already know they came from a crazy background, or some don't realise the effect.
Yeah.
And there's this grief and trauma.
Yeah.
There's all that stuff.
Yeah,
that you touch on that we haven't even talked about yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So we still have so much to cover on what happens in our past that affects us today. So I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, nice little chat. Thanks very much.
Happy days.
Talk to you next week.
We'll be chatting next week. Take it easy. Bye bye.